Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining this session. It's already afternoon. I'm sure you're already tired. It's been an intensive program, very insightful, I must say. So I'm Lachin, and within my role as a regional director, I'm supporting, together with Magda, we're supporting universities around different countries, not only with the process of being ranked, as well as we are providing access to data and insights for universities to make strategic decisions. So today, during this session, we would like to go through Times Education World University Rankings with the methodology overview, as well as share with you some trends analysis focusing on Poland and Ukraine and how we support universities globally. But just to start with, a few words about Times Education. I'm sure that many of you already know about us. We've been in the market for over 50 years, and during this time, we built a solid profile as one of the most trusted sources of information and help, of course, universities understand their position against their mission. But with our rankings, we also help students to decide who to invest their future with. But crucially, for us, is important. Engaging, networking, and building partnership with other universities. We support academics and students with academic and student recruitment activities. But finally, all of this is underpinned on the data. The data, of course, the data that comes from rankings. So when it comes to rankings, THE rankings, we take this data and we try to transform it into the way that will allow universities to understand how they're performing in comparison to their peers, but crucially, help universities building strategic partnerships. And we have three major rankings with the World University Rankings, which is the oldest at THE, focusing on research-intensive universities. And for this particular ranking, the focus is mainly around research, although we assess teaching and other elements, but the focus is around research output. Besides the World University Rankings, also I must say, for the World University Rankings, not every institution can be included, since we have a specific criteria for universities to be eligible for the world as well as subject rankings. And since the focus is around research, so for that, universities must have at least 1,000 papers published within the last 5 years in Scopus database. Then you see on the left-hand side, your left-hand side, we are also producing teaching ranking, where they're based on student satisfaction. But in this particular case, they're more either on a national or regional level. But crucially, we have other rankings, impact rankings, that are based on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And as you all agree, with the climate catastrophe, with the social catastrophe, with the war that we have in Europe now, universities have become more important than ever before, not only in teaching and producing research, but in actually supporting societies, supporting your governments, communities, in saving humanity, I must say. So let's delve into some of these data. I would like to focus on the World University Rankings in particular. So as I mentioned that we are collecting data from universities every year, where institutions are providing us with information to understand universities better. And all of this data is validating using statistical techniques to make sure that we understand universities better, and hopefully they understand our methodology, our terminology better. So this data collection is the process that happens every year, and the next one will begin from January 2024. But the second aspect that we are focusing on is reputation. So every year we conduct a global academic survey where we ask active academics to vote for best universities in research and best universities in teaching based on their direct expertise, based on the discipline they're specializing in. And to ensure fair representation across different countries and different disciplines, we use UNESCO data to distribute our survey based on how much research, for example, been produced in Poland, or how much research been produced in Ukraine. And based on these ranking results, that's when it goes to Times Education World University Rankings. But this year, we introduced several changes in the methodology of the World University Rankings with the 20th edition of the ranking supplement, and to ensure that we reflect the world in all its diversity. When we started in 2004, we had around 200 universities participating in the ranking. Now we have over 2,000 universities. And of course, the world is changing, and we must take this into consideration. So there have been introduced some changes, but also these changes been implemented to ensure that we're providing transparency and accurate data to universities as well as governments to understand how their universities are performing in comparison to other institutions internationally. But since, rankings is, of course, definitely one of the ways how we can measure universities' academic and research excellence. So what we are trying to do is collecting all this data from universities, collecting data from Scopus database, but also from reputation survey. And then this goes towards 17 metrics that sit under the cover of the World University Rankings. So on the left-hand side, you see the 3 data sources that we use to assess universities' academic and research excellence, from reputation survey, which is 33% of the methodology, with the universities before the data that you submit as directly, around 30%, and bibliometric output, the quality of your research, which represents 37%. And within 17 metrics, most of them are normalized by the size of the institution, by other factors, to ensure that they are comparable internationally. And when we publish the World University Rankings, we combine them into 5 pillars, focusing on teaching. But again, I must emphasize, it's the teaching from research perspective. The second aspect, we're looking at research environment, which is about ensuring that the factors, that you're creating conditions for your academics to focus on research. The third one is research quality. It's the outputs of your research. It's the results of all the research projects you've been working on. And finally, 2 crucial areas is industry, collaborating with industries, how you're transforming your knowledge into practice, knowledge transfer, technology transfer, and finally, your internationalization strategy. Since internationalization is one of the key aspects of every university, particularly if you want to be part of this international community, so we're looking at international metrics as well. So this is how it looks like, as you can see, with 17 metrics within 5 pillars. And all of these metrics, they have different size. But most of them, as I already mentioned, they are normalized to ensure that we are providing effective way of measurement. But what I would like to highlight here within these 17 metrics, as I mentioned, there have been introduced a number of changes in the methodology of the World University Rankings, particularly around how we're assessing research. If in the past, research was assessed based on field-weighted citation impact, I think earlier our colleagues from Elsevier already explained FWCI, so I'm not going to go into details. FWCI is one of the effective way of measuring research quality, but there are other metrics how we can assess research output, particularly focusing on 75th percentile, again looking at FWCI, but only 75th percentile, which is research strength in this particular. But then we're looking at all the research produced by universities, by your institutions, and how much of all the publications you have contribute to the top 10% best research. And then finally, the fourth metric that we introduced around the quality of research is about the influence of your citations. Not only the numbers, not only in which journals you're publishing, but who is citing your papers. And this metric was developed in-house by our data team, where they actually analyzing these data to ensure that we're rewarding good self-citation while, in a way, ignoring bad self-citation. And finally, within this, oops, it's highlighted as well. The reason why I wanted to highlight the other metrics, this year we also introduced patents, but it's not the number of patents that you have, but patents that are citing your research, is understanding how you're collaborating with industries. Not only your papers are published and they're set aside, but they actually transforming into practice, into knowledge and technologies. But the reason why I highlighted international co-authorship here, although you can see international collaborations are only 2.5% in the methodology, but in the long term, international collaborations can have a huge impact on the quality of your research, how you're collaborating with industries, but also your reputation, which is, again, one of the, reputation is the currency for every university, as you may agree. And this goes to the latest data based on the World University Rankings. We call it 2024, although they were published this year. It was actually the largest participation this year, with 2,000, over 600 universities participating in our ranking from representing 127 countries. And there is data that we've been collecting from universities, over 400 data items provided by institutions. And as I mentioned, we are thoroughly checking and validating every piece of data provided by institutions. We received over 34,000 inquiries from universities, where together with our data team, we were ensuring that we're providing with accurate information and helping universities with data submission. With over 60 million research papers being analyzed from Elsevier Scopus database, over 134 million citations, and this year we had the biggest reputation survey when we combine this data for the last 2 years with over 68,000 academics participating in the survey within the last 2 years, and almost 1 million votes received from 166 countries. So I have to say that, you can see rankings being becoming more competitive with from 200 to 2,000 universities. But as you might agree, that every ranking is a zero-sum game. And I remember a quote from Alice in Wonderland when it said, "It takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. But if you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as you can." So on that note, I'll hand over to my colleague Magda. Thank you.
Thank you, Laçin. And so now on to some exciting analysis of how Polish universities have been performing in the World University Rankings. So I just wanted to start by highlighting that this year we had over 1,904 institutions taking part in our rankings from over 108 countries, and 37 of Polish universities were ranked with us, and that is 17th highest in the world. And I think this is a great result, and we are seeing continuous, engagement from Polish universities. And I can for sure see that, in Poland, there is this real eagerness to improve education and to join the rankings. Sorry, I'll take this one. Thank you. So, looking at Poland and comparing it to the world from 2018 to 2024, on this side over here, you can see how, Polish institutions, so that's the blue line on the graph, red is the average for the world. And here you can see how, in terms of the ranks, Polish institutions have been going down in the rankings, but so have, on average, the world institutions. On the other side, you can see a graph when it looks at specific scores. And actually, this is really good news. Polish institutions, on average, have been improving since 2018. So has the rest of the world, of course. But I'm very proud to say that Polish institutions have been improving at a faster rate than the average world. So that's really good news. Now, when we just focus on Poland, looking at the pillar metric level information, but also at the metric level information. Again, here you can see some really positive changes. Most of the lines that you can see here are going up, which means that Polish institutions have been improving across all pillars and within all metrics. Particularly, I wanted to highlight here that Polish institutions have been really improving in research quality. So we can see that there is an average of, I think, 12.9 improvement here. But also internationalization. We can see that more and more international students are coming to Poland to study, and also international academic staff. So on average, really great news. Polish institutions have for sure been improving. Looking and comparing Poland to the world and the improvements that have been made in this area, again, some really outstanding results for Poland. You can see that Polish institutions have been improving at a faster rate than the average for the world. So when it comes to student-staff ratio, Poland has been performing very well. Looking at research income and staff, publications, international students, teaching and research reputation. So these are all the metrics that we can see that Polish institutions have been doing better at than the average in the world. But of course, there is some room for improvement. And there are a couple of areas where we can see that institutions across the world have been maybe improving a little bit faster. And that includes international co-authorships, field-weighted citation, and so on. Now, I wanted to share with you how Poland is doing in 2024. So this is looking at Poland and Europe. And here you can see all the metrics, the new metrics that Lachin has just told you about. And the bottom lines show you the minimum points, the top lines show you the maximum points, and then you can see the bottom of the box is the 25th percentile, the top of the box is the 75th percentile, and then the line in the middle represents the median. And here you can see that there are pockets of excellence in Poland across all of the metrics. As you can see, there is a couple of lines that reach the top in Europe. But in terms of the metrics that you can see that Poland has been doing particularly well in is the student-to-staff ratio, which is great. It shows that Polish institutions have a real personalized learning experience for students. It's probably something that you should be proud of promoting to international students. This doesn't happen as often across other European countries, including the UK. But in terms of the other metrics, Poland is still behind comparing to Europe. So, like I said, I guess the summary is that Poland has been improving at a faster rate than everyone else. However, it's still behind on a number of metrics. But when we compare Poland to the world, we can actually see that there are some more positive changes here. So there is a couple of metrics where Poland has been doing better. Again, you can see that there is a number of them where we could do some work. But I am here, and I've been given Poland this year, and I'm hoping to continue to work with all of you going forward. And I'm sure that we can change all of these metrics to green very soon. And now I'll pass on to Lachin to talk to you about
So the final part of this presentation, I would like also to share some insights into the latest ranking results, but focusing on Ukraine. Actually, myself have been working at Times Higher Education over 5 years. And my first engagement, one of the first engagements was actually with Ukrainian universities. And the first ever meeting in London I had with Sumy State University, where we were discussing how we could work together, how we can support Sumy State University as well. And of course, we hope to continue our partnerships and for all this to be over. So looking at this data, first of all, again, as what Magda earlier shared, but this is focusing on Ukraine, where you can see on the left-hand side, the boxes for focusing on Ukraine with the worldwide distribution, how universities are performing based on the latest ranking results. So we can see there are some relatively positive trends in terms of international students studying abroad metrics, and as well as we can see actually students to staff ratio, there has been a huge improvement, I would say, or in comparison to the rest of the world, so that particular. Of course, there's some other areas which are quite behind, but given the situation, I think I understand it must be difficult for universities, particularly focus on international collaborations and research. But let's look at some of the trends. Let's look at how Ukrainian universities have been performing from 2018 to 2024, where on your left-hand side, you see their comparison with the rest of the world, and then we can see changes in the score, what contributed to a positive and negative impact. The one on the right-hand side, you can see actually, again, students to staff ratio is much better as a metric, the score in comparison to the rest of the world. But what's interesting here, field-weighted citation impact been growing. It's been improving. So what it shows that for Ukrainian universities, it's not about just for them to be included in our rankings and have a certain number of papers, but it's actually their research quality outputs been growing and improving for the last 5-6 years. Of course, we can see also a number of negative changes, particularly around international co-authorship. And I must stress that in the time of war, I can imagine it must be difficult, almost impossible when it comes to co-authorship. But from Times Higher Education, what I must say that we're here to support you. We have lots of international events where we're trying to connect universities with academics, with industries. So from our side, we would be more than happy to invite you to participate at our events as well, where you may be additional opportunities engaging with other universities and building research strategies together. But then, like a few slides, I wanted to focus on the performance of institutions from Ukraine, but focusing on the subject rankings. What's, again, contributing to a positive and negative impact. So in terms of the high growth areas, you can see actually engineering for teaching has been doing quite well, as well as business and economics. From internationalization perspective, we see a positive change for the last 2 years based on the ranking results. There's been also a positive trend in computer science for teaching, engineering, again, internationalization strategy, and internationalization aspect for computer science. In terms of the areas for improvement, one of these areas is around industry, collaborating with industries. If you remember when I talked about the methodology, one of the changes we introduced is not just only the industry income, but that the patents that are citing your research, that they use in your research. But this particular area, including computer science, engineering, this is the area where perhaps more focus should be, attention should be given. So that's in terms of the subject areas and focusing on the world university rankings. But what I also want to emphasize, research is crucial, academic excellence, teaching is important, but we should not forget the role that universities are playing when it comes to tackling sustainable development goals. And I wanted to share this data based on the ranking results from Ukrainian institutions. In last year, we had 29 universities included in the impact rankings. This year, we had 38 universities, 31% increase just in 1 year. And we can see participation of Ukrainian universities across different SDGs, and universities can decide which SDGs they can submit their data for. Here, for example, we can see quality education, SDG number 4, as well as there has been a strong performance for gender equality, SDG number 5, and other ones, for example, reducing inequalities, economic growth, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Again, this demonstrates that Ukrainian universities, in their time of war, they've been supporting their communities, their societies, addressing the challenges, whether it's about economic growth, whether it's about reducing inequalities, but also about quality education. And if you're looking at the average score per SDG, as I already mentioned, we see some positive improvement, particularly around economic growth, reduced inequality, SDG number 10, quality education, gender equality, SDG number 16, which is, I think, in the time of war, this is another way how universities can be as, I would say, as a soft power, promoting Ukraine internationally, attracting collaborations and also opportunities for further growth. And lastly, my slide, the last one, I would like to share with you some insight in terms of the 5 highest and 5 lowest performing indicators based on the latest impact ranking results. Again, we can see some positive trend in the employees, how you're supporting your employees, what conditions, what opportunities you're providing, for example, employees with disabilities. Gender equality, as I mentioned, SDG number 5, percentage of female senior academics. We see actually there are lots of academics from Ukraine, female academics producing research. The same positive trend we see female papers, basically a paper that has at least one female author. Again, in comparison to the rest of the world, Ukraine is actually doing so well. For field-weighted citation impact, for SDG number 12, responsible consumption and production. There's some relatively negative impact across other SDGs, including, as I already mentioned, industries, collaborating with industries, SDG number 9, innovation and infrastructure, but also some of them, which is focusing on land below water, which again, maybe for you to look into, something that to consider when it comes to submitting your data for the impact rankings. And again, we're here to support you, provide you with data and insights, and answer any questions you have, whether it's about the world, university, or impact rankings. So I know that we have about 3 minutes left. So the last part, how we support universities.
Yeah, I was actually asked in one of the breaks by a gentleman, can you tell me what Times Higher Education does? And my initial thought was, well, how much time do you have, sir? Well, on this screen over here says I've got 2 minutes and 33 seconds, and I'm going to get told off by this gentleman over here if I'm not within my time limit. So just a very quick overview. If you're a university that's here, that's not currently ranked, whether that's World University Rankings or the Impact Rankings, and you would like to be ranked with us, this is something that we can help you with. We can look at the data that you have, and we can simulate the results for you. We can analyze where you would be ranked. And then if we tell you that you may not be possible for you to be ranked, we can tell you what you need to do in order to be ranked. So that's for institutions who are not currently ranked with us. If you are ranked and you are hoping to improve and you are looking at various metrics that you want to improve yourselves in, we can do performance analysis for you. So this is something that our consultancy team can do. They can come in, they can analyze your performance across all of the metrics, and they can give you guidance and recommendations on exactly how you can improve across those metrics. Another big kind of part of what we do is reputation and brand. And actually, this is, I think, an area of, maybe an area that universities in Poland could focus on. When I traveled around and I met with rectors across Polish universities, I actually noticed that there is a lot of outstanding research being produced. There's a lot of outstanding work that's being produced at Polish institutions. I think they are just so humble and they don't promote it enough. I think there is a piece about really talking more about the work that's going on here in Poland and promoting it as much as possible. So if you're looking at really identity and looking at your brand and wanting to understand how you can do better and how you can attract more international staff, how you can attract more international students to your institution and build more international partners, this is something that we can look at for you. Another piece of work that we are doing with other institutions across the world is research. So if you are looking to, develop your research strategy, again, to find the correct partners for you. I think sometimes we notice that universities have collaborations with so many different institutions across the world, but very often those collaborations or those partnerships aren't as effective as they could be. I think sometimes it's not about the quality and how the quantity, it's about the quality of partnerships that you have. So making sure that the universities that you have as partners on your paper are actually real engaged partners outside of the paper. So that's just a very quick overview of some of the projects that we can support you with. Like I said, I am here and I am based in London, but I come and visit Poland very often. I've got my babcia here. So yes, please just get in touch with me directly if you need any help going forward. Thank you.